And that is the Human League, KRV-FM, the heart and soul of San Antonio. Dr. Doug here on another Insight Saturday. And as I promised you guys, we are about to start our Saturday conversation. And today we are honored. We have Mr. Keith Richard. And Keith is from Siebert Williams Shank, the one of the largest minority investment firms or financial firms in the country. How are you, Mr. Richard?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing wonderful. Once again, thank you so much for taking time out today. So, I was kind of get preparing for this and looking you guys up. SWS, Siebert Williams Shank, is an impressive company. Can you tell me a little bit of how you guys got started?
Yeah, so the firm was originally founded under the name Siebert Brand Shank. It was founded by Muriel Siebert, who is kind of an icon. She's known as the first woman on Wall Street. She was the first woman to have a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. And she had a discount brokerage operation, similar to what you would think of like a Fidelity or Schwab.
Okay.
And she was looking to expand her practice and get into the municipal bond space. And she partnered with Suzanne Shank and Napoleon Branford to found the firm in 1996. It's kind of a specialty boutique municipal bond firm, which, like I said, we serve governmental entities. Think of cities, counties, states, school districts, water authorities, anybody that issues municipal bonds for capital projects. And that evolution has grown. We were honored in 2016 after Mr. Napoleon Brantford retired that the Honorable Henry Cisneros joined as a name partner. In 2016, the firm became Siebert Cisneros Shank. And one of the things the firm was looking to do was grow the corporate side. We've been the top minority firm in the municipal bond space for 20 plus years.
Wow.
The corporate bond market was the other kind of next evolution. And there was a firm already out there called Williams Capital that had been the number one minority owned firm in the corporate space for 20 plus years. So we were a perfect fit. So in November of 2019, the two firms merged to form Siebert Williams Shank. Like you mentioned, we're the kind of the largest non-bank, so think of it more and more of a traditional investment bank, minority firm in the country. And now we service both governmental, municipal clients and corporate clients across the country.
So, just for our audience sake here, can you tell us the difference between corporate and municipal, yes? Mm-hmm.
Yes, sure. The main thing is the tax prep difference. So municipal bonds are issued tax exempt, allows them to borrow at a slightly lower yield than a taxable bond. They both pay the same in terms of it, and a bond is basically an IOU. So a company or government wants to borrow money, and they promise to pay that money back over time, similar to how a mortgage works. But the municipal market is what its benefit is in a tax exempt market, which allows governmental entities to borrow at a slightly lower rate. We do issue taxable bonds in the municipal space as well.
Okay.
But predominantly, I would say about 80% of the issuance is tax issuance.
Wow. And I was so impressed. I did a story about Suzanne in the local Observer, the San Antonio Observer, and so I did a lot of research. I was just so impressed. I had never heard of you guys before, and to look at all of the things you have accomplished. Just it's like a week doesn't go by that something fantastic doesn't that you guys don't have some fantastic deal. I was looking at the one in Pittsburgh, and it's just really, really impressive. So being a minority firm like you guys are in the financial services business, that's not a very common thing. So how did you guys get there?
Think of us starting as a in the municipal bond space. Clearly, when you look at the diversity across cities and counties, elected officials, there was a need there, a gap, void of firms that look like ours out there competing for business. So that kind of was the beginning. That probably started back in probably 70s and 80s when you had the first kind of minority firms start getting into the municipal space, which made sense because of when you looked at the leadership levels, especially in a lot of big urban areas, you often found Hispanic or African American people as mayors, councils, so government officials, and they wanted to see a representative structure when it relates to the type of firms doing business with them. The neat thing about Siebert, and so I should say, I started my career here back when I was 22, coming right out of college. Then left and spent about 13 years working at some of the bulge bracket firms like Morgan Stanley and Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and even Lehman Brothers. I got to kind of see the
Uh-huh.
And coming back to Siebert to head Texas for them, I mean, I know we quality-wise, banker, we're just as talented as any of these other firms. So it gives me a lot of confidence going in when we're meeting with clients, knowing that we can deliver execution, I argue, better than some of our bulge bracket competitors, because they don't focus specifically on this type of business like we do. They do a gazillion other things. This is kind of our niche where we focus on, whether it's corporate or municipal bonds.
So,
And so that's kind of been the evolution. And like I said, as you mentioned, we're not a household name. That's kind of if there's one thing we have to do when we go in to compete for business, is we walk in the door and, they know who JP Morgan is, they know who Wells Fargo is, they know who Goldman Sachs is. They may not have heard of Siebert Williams Shank, but we know when we get a chance to tell our story and show the kind of work we've done, overwhelmingly people want to work with us.
that is so impressive. I'm from Chicago originally, and in Chicago we had a firm kind of similar to yours, kind of, and it was called SureBank, and they did kind of what you did, except for they did have a traditional banking arm to them, because they, it was in the black South Side of Chicago, but and I think there was one in Detroit, and there was a couple in Oakland, but over time they seem to have all kind of withered out, and so, and I know you guys are really good, and I know people in large urban areas are looking for people like you, but those other firms that they seem to gotten bought out or kind of washed under, or have liquidity problems, and you guys are like a AAA bond kind of a company. I mean, that amazes me. And what do you attribute that to?
Well, we're small, so smaller. So that's one thing. I mean, when you get to the financial service and banking industry, you have to compete against the balance sheets of, like I said, the Bank of Americas in the world to try to deliver the same service. That could be difficult.
Uh-huh.
Just the size and scope they are. But when you get to a niche business, whether it's corporate bond related or municipal bond related, that's a little different. So what we've done is we specialize in something that's, I would say, a smaller niche market. I mean, it is overall it's a big market. I mean, there's somewhere last year, I think a neighborhood somewhere around $450 billion was issued
Wow.
by state and local governments to fund projects. So it's small. I mean, it's big from that standpoint, but it's not big on the global scale when you talk of the trillions of dollars that are issued debt-wise. So having that focus on something, I think that you can, a niche where you can be good at, I
Uh-huh.
think has been a key. And just to kind of give you a sense, so in Texas we have a tremendous team of about 8 bankers.
Okay.
And on our Texas team, we have rankings like everything else.
Right.
The way the goal in our business always is to be the lead manager on a deal. Think of that being as the quarterback. You're running the deal. You have other firms as part of the deal, but the lead manager is pretty much the quarterback. They're calling the shots and they're doing most of the work.
Okay.
Last year we were lead manager on $3.6 billion in Texas.
Wow.
And that ranged from, the state of Texas. We did a couple big deals. Harris County, some of the big school districts. That ranked us 5th among all investment banking firms. We were ranked ahead of Goldman Sachs,
Oh my gosh.
ahead of JP Morgan. We were ranked ahead of Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Now, we may not beat them every year, but we are talented enough that we know we have good years. We will outperform those firms, and we've done that. And that's not the first time we rank that high. So just to give you a sense of the kind of the level we compete at.
So I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never heard of these guys, you got to look them up on the website. They have a really impressive portfolio that they've built over since 1996, and it's just unbelievably impressive. What have been some of the obstacles you guys have faced, being that you're a niche player in such a huge market?
Well, I mentioned name recognition. That's kind of the first one, right?
Okay.
When I worked at Morgan Stanley, I mentioned I worked at some bulge bracket firms. It was always easy to get a meeting with a client.
Right.
It had may not have met us before because of just the jersey I had on my shirt. Obviously, it can be sometimes a little more challenging to get people to say, yeah, I want to meet with these guys. I want to let them hear what they have to say. So that would say is kind of the first sometimes challenge. The second challenge, I wouldn't say it's necessarily discrimination, but it's the standpoint of thinking that because we're a minority firm, we're somehow not as capable.
Absolutely.
Again, most of the firm, if you go down the list of the people that work at the firm, most of them have worked at bulge bracket shops at some point in their career.
Right.
As I like to say, now at Siebert, I didn't forget how to do what I'm doing when I left Morgan Stanley.
Right.
So you get the same level of expertise that I brought to the same clients who wanted to hire me when I was at Morgan Stanley that I'm bringing just with a different firm. And what makes I think was kind of unique too, that I would say kind of the flip side is the positive, 2 deals a week. Well, what does that mean? When I go to my client, I try to pitch us to do business. I'm saying you're going to have the whole firm focus on your deal. You know,
Wow.
this is going to be just our top focus. So we're going to give you better execution. I like to refer to clients. I tell them, you know, we're that 5-star boutique hotel. And when you walk in, they have the warm towel for you.
Right.
And when you leave and you check out that hotel, you say we had a great experience. It's not to say going to stay at a 5-star Hyatt or Hilton are bad, but you've been there. You've done that.
That's right.
There's not that special. There's not that uniqueness and special feeling that you get. That care, and I think that's the kind of a little difference we bring when we approach transactions.
That is a great analogy. Thank you for sharing that. So now, let me ask you. Let me change directions just for a second. So how do you recruit? You say you're a small overall. How many employees do you have nationally?
We have about 130, and that's in the corporate side and on the municipal side. The municipal side is still our largest side of the franchise. It's about 80 individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And understand that breaks down. You kind of break down the sectors and sectors. So of the 80 people on the municipal side, I would say about 50 of them are on the banking side, which is what I do.
Okay.
Origination side.
Right.
We're the ones out going and meeting with clients, pitching deals, trying to get hired. And then we have, about 20 people on our desk.
Okay.
These are the ones who actually sell the bonds. So,
Right.
I don't talk to investors. I get hired on the transactions, and when we bring it to market, we have a sales desk, a sales force, and they're talking to the big institutional investors. Think of it like your insurance companies like State Farm and Allstate,
Right.
or your big bond funds like Nuveen or BlackRock, and they cover 400 or 500 different types of investors who buy municipal
bonds. Okay.
So that's how we're kind of structured. We have a desk side, we have a banking side. Similar on the corporate team, they have corporate bankers, and then they have a corporate desk also that focuses kind of on taxable. We do a few other small, niche. We do some M&A work as well.
Okay.
Merger and acquisition. We also do some equity work in equity research.
Okay.
So think of it when we put out the equity team puts out reports on certain stocks that they buy recommendations or sell recommendations. Like some of the bulge bracket firms, we tend to focus on maybe specific sectors, or some of our people have specialties.
Okay.
That's kind of how we're broken down employment-wise, and how we recruit. It's kind of like anybody else. We recruited, some of the top universities. Locally, we recruit out of the local universities in the state. And part of the reason we do that is we want people who want to live here in Texas. A lot of the bulge bracket firms will recruit analysts. They'll put them up in New York, and they'll enjoy it for a while. But eventually, those kids usually want to
go home
back to where they're from. Right. We see that a lot. So I find a lot of value in going and getting local kids who know the community. Some of these kids may have been involved in student government. They may have been involved in things like that, and they may have a good sense of kind of the political landscape, and they want to work here in Texas. And we find it pretty fun. One neat thing we've done over the last few years, which I've really enjoyed, is for our school district clients, we started doing bond finance 101s for students.
Wow.
You get hired by a school district, XYZ school district. Actually, we did it for San Antonio IC. So we did a deal for San Antonio IC in 2019. It was about a $300 million deal. They had about 35 students that came, and it was impressive, but it was during the summer. So students came.
Wow.
Because that happened to be when the transaction. They came to an office building in downtown San Antonio, and they watched the transaction. So we have the orders on a big monitor.
Right.
Investors put in orders. You can see the orders coming in from which firms are putting in orders. And the kids got to watch it and ask questions, and it was really neat to have the engagement. And just me, I think back when I was young, $1 million seemed like a lot of money. So imagine seeing 10, 20, 100, $200 million. That blows your mind. And understanding that all this is how their school is financed, how their buses are paid for,
right,
and teaching them the civic side of the importance of voting.
Right.
And if you want these type of projects in your community, you have to go advocate for them, and then you have to also vote for them.
Wow. So, and I know in the few minutes we have left, that's a great story. So, tell us. I noticed here in some of your news clippings on the corporate website. I noticed that you guys have done a lot for the storm victims here in Texas, and some other things. Tell us how you guys give back to the community.
Yeah, that's always been something that's front and center important to us. Like I said, we do a lot of work, like I said, for a lot of these large municipalities. When the storm hit, it impacted, the bankers here in the my junior bankers had a pipe break in his house, and so we had another one who was out without power for multiple days. So we get affected just like everybody else. And as trying to be corporate responsible, we reached out to some of the cities that we do work with and kind of said, hey, do you have some type of storm relief fund? Most of the cities had set up funds, and so we were able to make contributions to make the city of Houston, the city of Dallas, the city of Austin, the city of San Antonio, each of their storm relief funds. And it's the right thing to do, right? I mean, we're members of this community like everybody else. We all rise and think together, and we want to be there trying to help uplift the community when we can.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. I saw that. Last question we have, because I'm about out of time.
Sure.
So this came to mind when you talked about what you did for SAISD. So if there's a kid out there that's in college or a senior in high school, how could they prepare themselves to get into your industry?
Yeah, so specific to municipal bond industry, I think the one thing that's neat about our business is it kind of crosses politics and finance. So I would say be kind of active in kind of the political student government kind of landscape, understand policy, things like that. But also it's important to take kind of economics classes when they're going to college and finance classes to understand the finance numbers too. I would think, get involved. You'll realize at the local level, there are bond elections all the time. So you can get involved with the various activities such as when they get out the vote for various things, get civically engaged, learn about policy, learn about these measures when they come. What does it mean when they're approving a bond? What is that bond going to be used to pay for? In San Antonio area, I know there's been a big thing on transit
right.
Connect San Antonio,
right.
that. So there's right. You understand, get involved and read up and understand those things, and get engaged in them. I think that's the best part, the best way to kind of if you have interest in a business like this, because that's a lot of what we do.
Keith Richard, Managing Director of Siebert Williams and Shank here in in Texas. And thanks so much for your really, really informative conversation today. Hey, anytime you guys have got something going on, you need to get a message out to the community, please keep us in mind. We'd love to establish a relationship with you guys and make sure that, because a lot of information about companies like yours, I mean, people in the community need to hear that. They need to know that hey, we can do just as well in all of these different areas as anyone else, like you so aptly said earlier in your interview. So I appreciate your time on a Saturday. Don't want to abuse the opportunity. Keith, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Thanks for having me.
All right, you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Once again, that's Keith Richard. He is the Managing Director of Siebert Williams Shank here in Texas. Great interview. A lot of information there. It might have confused some of you, but look up their website. It's a very easy to get to know website to find out what they do. All of these things happen on a regular basis, and it's good if that's an industry you want to get involved in. You should really take his advice. Get involved in political science. Get involved in to get out the vote. Efforts when they do have bond elections whether it's for the school, whether it's for VIA, whether it's for SALS, they all have municipal bond, and they try to float those and get them voted in. So that is a great interview. Really appreciate that. One of the things, before I go, I want to just say this. When you look at how they got to where they are, one thing that they did, they prepared themselves to get to where they are today. It didn't just happen. No one just gave it to them. They found a way to make it through the obstacles, whether some of them might have been discriminatory, maybe some of them might have been because of their size or in this market, but they didn't give up. They had fortitude. They kept working. And that's what you all have to do. I'm telling you, when this post-COVID era is going to be really challenging. So there's going to be lots of opportunities. Like I said, I talked about earlier about SA Ready to Work. If you don't have a plan, if you haven't put together a plan, you don't know what you're going to do, you've been unemployed, but keep in mind, you're not going to be unemployed for long. What is it that you want to do? And if you don't have any idea, you don't have a plan, you don't have any goals, you don't have a game plan, go and look up SA Ready to Work. They're looking for 10,000 people here in 2021 that they will pay a stipend for up to 6 months for while you go to training. I think it's a $15 an hour stipend, so it's more than many of you might be even making. So while you're doing your training, once you get done with the training, you will be able to go out and get a job, because a lot of these employers have made commitments to hire the people who will go through successfully complete SA Ready to Work. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not telling you what to do, but it's something that I would suggest. You don't want to be in June and July and the COVID, everybody's got their vaccinations. You don't want to be still looking for a job. That you don't want to have a plan. Don't want to have to start putting together a plan. Then you need to plan now. Dr. Doug here with the KRV FM, the heart and soul of San Antonio. That ends our Saturday conversation for today. Thanks everybody for listening. And right now we gotta go with a little bit of Frankie Beverly and Mays, Traveling Man, coming up here and right now.